Are you finding that you can't stop buying fragrances? You have so many already, so many fragrances that you absolutely love, and yet you keep on buying more. Are you blind buying fragrances and then they turn up and after you sniff them you're really disappointed, or you convince yourself, oh, this worked out, this is good, I like it, only to find that a week later, 2 weeks later, you haven't even worn the perfume, you're just not that into it, and your fragrance collection grows and grows and you have all these bottles and you're not wearing them. There's a general problem with over consumerism, and it's not just in fragrances, it's in everything. If you're into makeup and beauty, if you're into clothes, handbags, watches, anything, books, stationery, there's a little genre, there'll be a community on the internet where you probably watch reviews, discuss things and talk about the latest things that you've bought, and you'll get inspired to buy more stuff, and that certainly takes place here in Fragcom. I think that we are all each other's worst enemy. We rub off on each other. I see it on YouTube, on Instagram, and in the Facebook groups as well. The Facebook groups, it's quite a close-knit communities on there, and people are enabling each other, encouraging each other, copying each other. One person goes for a blind buy on a really expensive fragrance, then they rave about it, and the next thing you know, someone else is like, I've just bought it too. Someone else will be like, yeah, me too. And then a few days later, you'll see a catch and release post where they sell the fragrance on almost immediately for much less than they paid for it. Now, all of that would be well and good if you are rolling in it, but the average person in Fragcom is probably not rolling in it. They might be rolling in fragrance, but they're probably not rolling in cash. And so this video is all about, if you're buying too many fragrances, what can you do to control yourself a little bit better? What tasks can you actually complete to help yourself do better? So I'm going to tell you about my issue with fragrances, and it's definitely linked to finances. And I know that's not everyone's issue, because obviously some people do have unlimited finances to spend on fragrances, but they might still suffer with some of the other issues of just owning too much stuff. And when we say stuff, we mean fragrances on this occasion, but I do feel like this topic could really be any other product as well. I forgot to say in this video, so I'm going to plop this here in the beginning, this is not aimed at you if you have all your financial shit together and you are not buying tons of perfume all the time. It's simply not the video for you. And so I don't want anyone to sort of watch this all the way through and then go, well, that's not me, I've got it all, I've got everything sorted, I'm good. That's obviously not directed at you at all. It's for the rest of us normies. So for me, I have at last count, and I did count properly because I mentioned in a video that I just did that I thought I had about 60 perfumes, and then I thought I better go check that because it grows. I look away for a little bit and then I look back and there's more. So I thought I would check, and I have 80 perfumes. Actually, I had 80 at last count, and I have sold and bought some. So it's probably about the 80 mark. And that includes a couple of backups and a couple of perfumes that I'm just holding on to resell at some point. But yeah, generally speaking, it's about 80 perfumes. And it feels too much. And that's not 80, the number doesn't sound wrong. It's not that. And I know there are plenty of people out there with way more perfumes than that, and they're perfectly happy with that. But for me, when I go to choose my perfume in the day or at night time, and I generally wear maybe one perfume during the day and then another one at night, I might actually often I wear a perfume around here and different perfume on the arms, just to try to use my collection. And then throughout the day there will be times when I might do a spray on a hand, or just go and sniff my perfumes, because I like to do that. And I just feel a bit overwhelmed with the choice, and I get this weird feeling that is kind of like guilt. I'm not entirely sure how to name this feeling, but I have all these perfumes and I can only really wear one or maybe two at a time. Potentially some of them are sitting there going off, and there's an unpleasant feeling associated with that, with this knowledge that some of these perfumes are probably going to go off before they get used up, that I have more than I'll ever need in a lifetime, I think. And there's just, this sort of overwhelm and this too much choice thing that's going on. And yet the irony is I'm still buying stuff. I'm trying to declutter as much as I can and get rid of those things that I really am not using. But at the same time, I still find myself adding to my collection. So it's a never-ending cycle. And I do think I am much better than I have been over the years, but still I want to get a lot better. Now let's talk about the financial side of things. For me, overspending on fragrance just means I am veering off from my financial targets. So my current financial target is to get my house paid off as quickly as I can. I didn't really pay attention to finances until only the last few years. If I'd have been good with finances from a young age, I would be in a paid off house and I'd be very wealthy, because to be good with finances, you don't have to have a really good, massive salary. You don't have to have a rich family. If you are careful with money and you save and you invest and you don't take out loans and you don't buy stupid, frivolous, very expensive things, you can do very, very well, even if you're on a lower than average salary. And if you're young and you're watching this and at the moment you have a live for now attitude like I did, I would highly recommend that you just do some research into finances and just basic financial advice, and just start to tuck away money, save it in the highest investment savings you can, save for a house, just learn about finances. Most people don't teach their children finances. You don't really learn about personal finances at school, and the more you know, the better you can set yourself up for such a great future. Anyway, I have kind of gone off track. So I'm working on my goal, and that means not spending money frivolously. I'm allowing myself to treat myself here and there, and I prioritize travel. That's the thing I love to do, so I will still continue to do that, but I just don't want to be stupid with money and keep adding perfumes to a collection that's already so good. I love my perfumes, but there's this never-ending need to try more, to buy more. Then there's the issue generally of taking up space. I mean, for me, I have a dedicated perfume cabinet, and that's fine. That is nicely filled. I don't really want to add any more to it, because the more you have, the less you can find stuff. It's like when you have too many clothes in the closet and you can't find an outfit to wear. It's all stuffed in and there's loads of stuff that doesn't fit anymore, or you just don't like, or whatever. And then you just really struggle to dress yourself every day. And the same goes for perfume. If you've got it all stuffed into drawers, or all just a ton on each shelf, and you can't see them all clearly, then you've got too much and you're not seeing what you have. The other thing with constantly buying stuff is that means you're constantly getting the door knocked with a postman, delivery person, and then you've always got all this packaging that you have to make a decision. And I think that what goes on in our heads and what we have to give our energy to is important. And you're worrying about, oh, what am I going to do with this big perfume box? This perfume came with this really elaborate massive box, I can't throw it away because what if I resell it, or you know, this box is just so damn posh, but now I've got to store this box, and then all the packaging that it came with, do you recycle it? I reuse my boxes, but then I got to the point that I had a whole shed full of boxes, and I had to spend hours ripping them up so that I could get rid of them. All these things we could do without them. Life would just be a little bit easier. So, I mean, that's a minor thing, but I do think it is something. So I've come up with some practical tasks to help us in our compulsive buying. And I think one of the things that's really important to do, especially if it's affecting your finances, then you need to track what you're spending and set a budget, set a fragrance budget, because if you don't know what you're spending, then you don't really know what budget to set, and you are just going to keep on spending all this extra money on fragrances that could be spent on something much more important or put towards your future, etc, etc. So go back 3 months, go through the statements, whatever you use to buy your perfumes, bank account, credit card, whatever. Go back through all of your things and see how much you actually spent on perfumes over the last 3 months. Maybe take a guess first of all. I think that would be fun. In fact, this could be something you could share in the comments if you're comfortable doing so. Number 1, take a guess. I think I spent £200 in the last 3 months on perfume, and post that comment, go away, check it out, see what you really did, and come back. You can edit your comment or make another comment underneath, reply to your own comment and say what the actual figure is, and let's see who is in control, who knows what they're actually spending on perfume. And then decide on your budget going forward. How much will you be spending per month, per 6 months, whatever, on perfumes, and stick to it. Now, of course, the option is there to declutter. If you have lots of perfumes that you are not using, then why not try to resell them and get some money back? Something that I do is sometimes if I really, really want something, it's a little bit expensive, I'll set myself a task to make that money on eBay, usually with perfume. And sometimes I can add some other random stuff in from my house that I don't need. So that way I'm at least not spending any extra money. I'm just selling stuff that I already had to buy that new thing. And I think that helps. It also shows me, it teaches me to be patient and to, what's it called? Delayed gratitude. We live in a world where everything's so instant. You can have anything you want instantly, pretty much, as long as you've got the resources. Click of a button, you can order anything you want. Amazon Prime will deliver the same day, I think. Food, all foods you can just have, even you can get your groceries, everything can be delivered almost instantly. And I think that's probably why consumerism is also on the rise, or why we are over consuming, is because we're just so used to getting everything instantly and it's all there on the internet. You don't have to go out to the shops, you don't have to drive anywhere, there's no effort involved. It's like 2 clicks of a button and there it is. So practicing a little bit of delayed gratification is just good for our mental health, and it's a muscle to try and expand, because most of us have probably lost a lot of that ability that we might have had many years ago. If you're old, if you're as old or older than me, you'll know that life was not so easy in terms of what you can do with the internet. So a little bit of delayed gratification, save up in effect for the thing that you want. I hope you can see I'm not coming at you from a judgmental angle, because I have made all the mistakes and I have been stupid with my money over the years. So this is not from a judgmental standpoint whatsoever, but we can kind of grow and learn together, can't we? I think it's important to reflect on why you actually buy the things that you buy, the perfumes that you buy, why and how do you do it? because you can learn something about yourself. Do you buy on an emotional, if you're feeling particularly happy or sad or angry, do you buy perfumes? Because if that's the case, you're an emotional buyer. It's quite normal, lots of people do it, but you might find coping mechanisms, other things that you can distract yourself with in those moments. So if you really find that it is a problem and you're having trouble getting it under control, then it might be worth keeping a little journal, even if you don't write in it every day, but whenever you feel compelled to buy perfume, maybe just write why. How did you get there? What started it? What was going on generally in your life at that point? And then why did you suddenly feel this need to buy this perfume? Were you scrolling in Instagram? Were you in Facebook? Were you watching YouTube? Was there an advert on the television? What are the things that trigger you? What makes you want to buy perfume? And then once you know those things, you can try it and avoid them. And if you really feel compelled to buy something, then why not put it in your basket and agree a time scale with yourself? If I still really want this in such and such a time, and it might be a day, it might be 2 days, it might be a week. If I still really, really want this in that time frame, then I can buy it. Just put in a bit of time and space between that urge to buy and actually buying might save you a multitude of sins. So this section is entitled Blind Buys Are Stupid. I don't think it needs any explanation. It doesn't. You know it makes sense. Blind buys are stupid. I think sometimes I see reviewers blind buying a lot, and I understand that they have a channel, they need fodder for their channel, and hauls make good videos. I watch hauls. I also watch hauls. It's almost like it's like, I think they call it hate watching. Part of me hates watching this excess, this throwing all your money away on perfumes that are mediocre at best, and you see the reviewer convince themselves, oh yeah, this is good, this is a successful blind buy, but you know damn well they're probably not going to be wearing those perfumes, or hardly, or they're going to end up decluttering them at some point. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of perfumes in the world. You can't try them all, and you definitely can't buy them all. And the chances are, if you stood in a room and smelt 100 perfumes, you're not going to want that many of them anyway. So what's the chances of a blind buy working out? Don't get me wrong, I've had some successful blind buys. I still have my Blue Lotus, my very first perfume from Tion Reinfeld. It was a very thought out, considered purchase. I wasn't really able to test them. I could have bought samples, but the cost of the samples with the postage, with the possible customs charges, I decided that I'd rather just buy the bottle, the one that all my most respected reviewers were saying was really, really good. I decided to just punt on that instead of the samples, and it worked out really well. That's a rare thing. Blind buys don't often work out that well, and even if you think oh no, it's okay, I quite like it, that's not good enough. Is that really good enough for you to give that space in your house, for you to now have that perfume, for it to start gathering dust? Are you really going to wear it against all the other perfumes you already have? I just think, stop it. I know sometimes there's so much hype, there is so much hype. Social media is all about hype. If you don't hype something, you're probably not going to get many views. So whether you're on Facebook, all of those things, YouTube, if you're not going, oh my God, this is amazing, this is the best blind buy ever, if you're not doing that, then people are, you're not going to keep their attention. So when you see reviewers saying, this is amazing, you get a bit excited. Oh my God, is it really that good? I want to try it. Oh, I can't get a sample. What am I going to do? Just wait. Join the Facebook groups and see if anyone's doing samples. Let someone else take the blind buy hit And oftentimes people buy a bottle to split it and get some money back doing it that way. Just be patient. You don't need to try everything. Just ignore the hype. It's all BS anyway. If you already own good quality designer, niche and indie fragrances, then you do not need cheapies and clones. Do you have enough perfumes already, and perfumes that you like and you enjoy wearing? If the answer is yes, and if you're watching this, I'm pretty sure it is yes, then why would you need to go out and buy all the clones, these Arabian perfumes, when you already have some great perfumes in your collection? Now, I understand if you have a small curated collection of perfumes, let's say you have between 5 and 15 perfumes, and they're all fairly pricey, whether they're designer, niche, whatever, they're all fairly pricey. So that maybe you want to save those for more special occasions. And then I can understand you wanting 1 or 2 cheapies that you just wear to work or to run errands. I get that. But if that's the case, just make sure you smell them first. Because again, even a cheapie is still a waste of money if it turns up and you don't like it. But in general, if you are someone who has a larger collection of decent perfumes, then you just don't need to go and buy these cheapies that everyone's hyping on about. Now, of course, if you sort of collect cheapies, that's a different story. But if you're looking at a fragrance wardrobe for yourself, then you just don't need them. And when I say cheapies, I'm not talking about those designer perfumes that get really knocked down in price. Like, for example, you can get a Calvin Klein perfume for very, very cheap. What I'm talking about here is the Arabian perfumes, the clone houses, the Federico Mahora, is it? Copycat type things. All of that, you just don't need them. So hopefully you've reflected a little bit on how you end up buying stuff that you don't need, and you've made a note of what causes you to do that, like Instagram or Facebook adverts, certain group chats on Facebook, whatever. So if that's the case, you have a trigger or 2 that you recognise, unsubscribe. Maybe you get emails from a certain blogger or a certain retailer that always has deals, and you can't help but go and have a look at what they're offering. If that's the case, you can unsubscribe from those emails. You can unfollow people, you can mute people. If you don't want to unfollow someone on Instagram, you can click mute and you won't see what they're posting. But if at some point you want to go and have a look at what they're up to, you can just find them on Instagram and have a look. So just try and cut out any advertising, because advertising is coming at you 24/7, and you just need to try and cut out as much as you have control of. I quite like watching, for motivation, I quite like watching decluttering type videos, not necessarily perfume decluttering, because those decluttering videos tend to be channels that also post a lot of hauls, so that doesn't really do it for me. What I like is just general life decluttering type videos. I find them quite motivating, where people live in a sort of fairly minimal environment and they keep everything nice and neat and clean, and I find that a little motivating. And I also find financial videos very motivating to help me stay on track with my finances and therefore not buy too much perfume. So now I'm going to get a little bit tough with you. We're going to do some tough love. Basically, if you are in any of these situations I'm going to read out now, then you should not be buying perfume at all, okay? Listen to me. You know it makes sense. Don't buy perfume if you need to use credit to buy perfume. It's self-explanatory. Do not get into credit to buy perfume. Perfume is a luxury item. It's not a necessity. If you live from payday to payday, if you spend all of your money, all of your income on your life, and you have nothing left, and by the end of the month the last few days of the month or even the last week of the month you're scraping by and you don't even think you could get fuel in your car, or you might not be able to go food shopping, then you cannot be buying perfume. If you don't have an emergency fund, then you should not be buying perfume. So financial advice across the board says you should have between 3 and 6 months worth of money that will sustain you for that period, in case you lost your job or in case a large an issue arises in your life and you need a large chunk of money to sort it out. So you need to have 3 to 6 months worth of money saved up and available instantly. And if you don't have that, you shouldn't be buying perfume. You should be saving that money towards your emergency fund. If you have debts, loans, etc., that you are struggling to pay off, so again, it kind of goes back to that living payday to payday. If you are barely making all your repayments on various loans, you absolutely should not be buying perfume. If you're in the next category, then you really need to be a lot more mindful about your purchasing. So this is where I would suggest a slow buy, mindful buying. And that is if you have any debt other than the debt on your house, your mortgage, any debt whatsoever, I would suggest, if you're sensible, that you put more money towards paying off your debt, overpay your monthly payments, get rid of that debt. Debt is crap. There always is a percentage interest rate. You're paying a lot more for the thing that you bought than its price. That's what debt is. Debt is essentially taking from your future self, and it is not a good thing. If you have any large expenses looming in the horizon, whether that be that you know that your car is on its last legs, maybe you need to move house at some point, you know that your boiler is probably on its last winter, hanging by a thread, all of these things. There are so many things in life that can come up and bite us on the bum, but there's lots of things that we know to expect, like your car insurance is due. It happens every year, so why not be prepared and have the money saved for it? So any expenses coming up, then you really need to slow down on your purchasing so that you can pay those expenses off without getting yourself into debt, which we just discussed is bad. If you have minimal savings, maybe you have an emergency fund, but you have no other money saved, then what are you going to do in the future? Wherever you are in life, you might get away with it in your early 20s, but as you get older, you're probably going to want to buy a property. And then as you get older still, you have to start thinking about retiring. I know it's really hard to see ahead that far. I know I never really looked ahead in that way, but if you do start early, then you're going to have a much more peaceful and nice retirement, or even approach to retirement. The approach to retirement, I mean, I'm still maybe 17, 18 years from retirement, but it's still starting to cause me worry, because I want to have a nice retirement. I want to travel. I want to be in my house, and I want to be able to afford the whatever food I want to buy. And unfortunately, if you don't look after your future now, you potentially could be scrimping and saving when you're retired and not living your best life, far from it. So if you have minimal savings, you really do need to slow down on your buying and start saving. And the same goes for if you're behind in your retirement savings. Here in the UK, if you're employed by an employer, then you are in a mandatory pension. I only joined a pension when it became mandatory because, like I say, I was financially stupid. And so therefore I'm a bit behind with that as well, which is why I'm now starting to think about these things and worry about them a little bit. So if that's you, if you haven't paid into a pension for all your working life, if you don't have investments and savings and things like that, then you really do need to start working on that, prioritising that over spending on luxury, non-essential items. So that's where I suggest a slow, mindful purchasing policy. So finally, we're going to finish on some basic financial advice. Now, I've been watching financial videos on YouTube and reading financial articles, not in any kind of really clever, in-depth way, but just to really get the basics. And here they are summed up. And of course, you know, everyone's different. We've all got different circumstances. But basically, basic finances is, if you are in debt, then you want to pay off the ones that have the highest interest first. Or some people take the view of paying off the smaller debts first, even if they have lesser interest. So you do what works for you. It might be more motivational for you to pay off that small debt, so you have less to contend with, less taking up your headspace, and then you can concentrate on overpaying on those larger amounts of debt. Emergency fund, we've already covered it. Everybody should have 3 to 6 months of expenses in the bank accessible. So that doesn't mean it's in investments. If you take money out of investments, you could potentially lose money. So you need it in the highest percentage savings account that you can get. And don't be, what's the word? Ambivalent? Don't rest on your laurels when it comes to money in savings accounts. If oftentimes you put the money in at a really good rate, and then over time, after a year, that rate expires and the percentage drops. You need to move your money around to get the best from it. And then there is if you own a house, paying off your mortgage as quickly as possible. So that means overpaying as much as you can, and also investing. Now, there's an argument that you should invest over paying off your house, because typically if you invest in the stock market, you're typically going to get something like 8% returns, whereas your mortgage would generally be on a lower interest rate. However, over sort of the last year or two, mortgage rates have gone up. And then there is the issue of, if you were to lose your income, it's much better position to be in, your house being paid off, and then you don't have that stress or that chance of losing your house. So my personal philosophy is getting my house paid off first. You may decide to go down the invest all your money instead and worry about, you can take the money out of the investments and pay the mortgage off some distant point in the future. That might make more sense to you if you're very mathematical minded. For me, the emotional side of having my house paid off, for the freedom that would give me, far outweighs maybe making a bit of a loss by not investing. But that's something you can go and research, take your time and research what you want to do. But of course you can do a bit of both. You can overpay your mortgage and invest at the same time. And if you don't own a house, ideally save for a house, because when you retire, if you have a house that you've paid off, that's your house. No one can take it away from you unless you're in a war or something terrible happens. That's your house. If you don't own your own house, you are going to be paying rent for the rest of your life. It's coming out of your pension, it's coming out of your savings every month, and it's a big expense. So if you can, if it's not too late for you, save for a house, get a house. In the UK, we have, as I said, these mandatory pensions now, and most companies, mine included, offer a salary sacrifice where you basically pay more and the company sort of match it, and then there's some extra tax benefits. There's extra benefits that you and the company receive. All the UK financial advisors that I've seen on YouTube, every single one of them says max out the amount you can put into your pension. Yes, you might see a little bit less in your monthly salary, but that money is going to be working for you. If you're in the UK, pension, definitely put as much in there as you possibly can. But of course, I am not a financial advisor. This is just the real basics that I've taken from a lot of research and stuff. I would advise you, because your situation will be different to mine and everyone's situation is different, go and learn about finances. It's never too late to learn, whether you're 60 or whether you're 16. If you're young, my God, if you learn about finances, seriously, you're setting yourself up for for being wealthy and for being really comfortable, being in a great position. If you just live in the moment and live for now, there will come a time when you're really gonna suffer for that. If you have any advice you want to add, please do so in the comments below. If this video came across as condescending, contrived, preachy, then I'm sorry. I'm not wanting to do that, but I do think some people need a wake-up call. I see behaviour that is damaging. I see damaging behaviour. People fucking up their futures for this instant gratification of receiving a perfume in the post, or receiving multiple perfumes in the post on a weekly basis, and not thinking about how that's going to affect them long term. But if you did enjoy it regardless, then thank you for watching. Do give it a like. If you want to, you can also support me on Ko-fi, and I'll put the link to that in the description. And I'll see you, hopefully, if you don't hate me and you come back, I will see you in another video. Bye.